Good afternoon. My name is Nick Newman, and welcome to this Media Mastermind keynote session this afternoon, where I think we're going to hear some really fascinating perspectives on the future of media, the future of 360 media, from a company that started out as a mobile game company. Rovio, based in Finland, is best known for the Angry Birds characters and franchise. What you may not know is that people spend 300 million minutes a day playing Angry Birds. And the latest offering, Angry Birds Space, is already, just a few weeks after its release, the #1 paid application in 99 countries. So the big question is, can Rovio move beyond Angry Birds? Can it move beyond mobile games to be a global media entertainment brand, which is its stated ambition, and which it's already gone some way to achieving. So I'm delighted in this mastermind keynote to introduce Nick Dorra, who is head of animation at Rovio. And Nick has had 14 years of amazing success in animation, and he's going to give his vision of how the brands and characters might develop going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Dorra.
Thank you. So, really great to be here. Thanks all for coming. Like I was introduced already, it also says it on the screen very big there, so once more, I'm Nick Dorra, and I'll be happy to tell you a little bit about how we do things at Rovio now when everything has gone into quite a huge, bigger direction than we ever thought it would be going. I mean, it's only been just a little bit over 2 years that Angry Birds was released, and we've already become a household name, and it's really incredible to see all the love that the fans are giving us. Angry Birds Space, our latest installment, I think it was in 3 days we did already 10 million, and now we are already north of 20 million downloads. The numbers change so fast you really can't keep up with it. It's amazing, and like Nick already mentioned, we are #1 in many app stores. One of those is the App Store of Japan, which we're very proud of. It's the first for us, and that's a great achievement as well. And to think it all started with very humble beginnings. The picture over there in the corner, it's from one of the first iterations of the game pitch that game designer Jaakko Iisalo came up with in the beginning of 2009. You can already see some familiarity of the characters. The gameplay itself was changed almost completely from that, but for example, the backgrounds, they're very similar already. And from those very humble beginnings, we've gone on to these huge live events that we are doing, live games. We've been featured in The Simpsons and other pop culture, and we've literally gone to space thanks to NASA and a Russian friendly cosmonaut. And it's all really thanks to our fans. And I keep saying this, I can't say this enough. I'm so humbled when somebody like this walks up to me and shows me their screen of 3-star levels. And to think that our game means so much to them, it just makes us work harder and harder every time. And those fans, they are really so engaged in the game. They are creating buzz around it, and that's actually one of our greatest assets, that we have a community who cares so much about our characters and about our game, that they want to put in time to discuss it with each other, to give us feedback and so on. And we really, of course, we nurture it and we work very hard on it to grow and to give them more things to talk about. And that is actually what has taken us from being just a local games developer for mobile stuff into being really a global player. And when you become a larger player, then of course your playmates grow a bit larger as well. And we've been very excited, for example, with the space launch, that we were able to partner with companies such as National Geographic and organizations such as NASA. And it's really huge things that you can do with it. And I'd like to show you a short video of what we did with NASA.
Space Station is a serious place. We're doing serious research, scientific research and engineering research. We have a regenerative life support system, which is a fancy way of saying that we've got a toilet that you use, and then a machine that goes chugga, 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 chug, and then you go to the galley and you make yourself a cup of coffee. And that's exactly what you are thinking it is. And this is the kind of engineering research that we're doing on Space Station. It's needed so that when we go to Mars, we won't run out of water. And of course, not only would you have angry birds if you ran out of water, you'd have angry human beings too.
Yeah, the guy is really a natural. I mean, Don is really great with what the stuff he's been doing for us. Just in case that you've missed it, he really is on the ISS space station, and this is the first ever game launch from space. I think that's kind of cool. But when you do try to surprise your fans, of course, inevitably, you also start to surprise yourself sometimes. But what is it really that made us think differently? What has changed in our mindset so that we have come to this new position? People still think sometimes that Angry Birds is an overnight success. It is not. Angry Birds is the 50-second game that Rovio has done. Before it came 51 titles of hard work since 2003. And each and every one of those grew the experience, and it's a really long pedigree of games development expertise that goes into it, deciding what makes a good game, which games are good, which games work for which audiences, and so on. And trying to piece together all those parts in order to basically minimize the amount of luck. Of course, there's always some luck involved, but if you can get it down from, say, 50 to 10 units, then that's already quite a bit. And the plan was, of course, that as soon as we have something that has wings, even though the birds don't, we'll put everything behind that. All the resources will be pooled, and we would then build that one game into a real brand and expand on the characters. And that's what has happened to Redbird and his friends. And also, when you start building on the brand, you start adding different units to the company. Of course, we could have gone with partners, but we've chosen to build it all in-house. And we have now animation department. We have licensing department that is very, very big. We have books and comics publishing. So all these different parts work together and bring in a different part each of the puzzle. And the games, for example, they are there to create engagement. Because when you're playing games, it's a forward-leaning experience. It's very active. It's totally different from when you're sitting back and watching television or even mobile animation, for that matter. And that is really one way that we've also used to build the community, because it requires activity. It's not just something that you're waiting to come to you, but you have to explore it. So it really, really helps on that matter as well. But in the game, we have, of course, built on the funny quirks of the characters, the funny parts of the gameplay, and so on, to build some emotions into it. But still, there's very, very little room in a app game where you can expand on story. So that's quite a thin part there. So we then start thinking, how do we actually bring in the backstory to all these great characters that we have now? And that's where animation then comes in. It's about telling more engaging stories, telling people something about the backgrounds and deeper thoughts, deeper feelings of the characters. For example, why are they always angry? Or in this case, even sad? Or came all this way to show you sad pictures. Let's make it a bit funnier, so nobody has to go home crying. But this is really what then was embraced by our fans. We started already when the game first came out with a short animation. It now has over 60 million views, and all of our later installments of short films, they've all ranked in huge numbers, millions and millions, and even tens of millions, some of them, on YouTube. And that is, in our opinion, proof of our fans connecting with the characters on a different level as well. And you see it with all the love that the fans are giving us. They are making birthday cakes, they're sending us the pictures of bomb-bird-shaped birthday cakes and so on. And I say that that is not possible if you don't have characters whom your fans can identify with. It's very hard to brand, let's say, a bubble shooter or a Tetris-like game because it's so much gameplay. But Angry Birds, even though people are most familiar with the slingshot game, Angry Birds is not just about the gameplay and will, in the future, be less and less about the slingshot, actually, and more about the characters and their adventures in all different kinds of games and other formats. And to that end, we, of course, want to tell a little bit about the history, backstory, and so on. This is a quote that I found just the other day on YouTube, so it's really amazing to see how our fans are starting to go into all of our different productions, scrutinizing them and seeing what we've actually told about the characters, what we haven't, and how to piece that together. And of course, this is really great for us, and we're happy really to oblige to their bid. And I'm happy to say that we're going to roll out a weekly animation series later this year of short format content. That came on a little bit fast, but that's our guys. So it's really fair to say that animation is at the forefront of what we are doing when we are expanding our brand and strengthening it on all our different projects. It's really a great way for us to connect with our existing fans, to give them more and keep them engaged. But it's also important for acquiring new fans because not everyone might want to play the game or is not able to play the game. So we want to offer people different points where they can interact and experience our characters. And of course, they're always tailored to mobile, fast-moving audiences like these ones. So our series will also be short-format content delivered right at the spot where our fans want to have it. And I'd say that we see a very strong shift from the usual, traditional media consumption patterns into mobile entertainment consumption. There's still, in the US, people watch 150, 160 hours of television every month, but the top apps, they're already raking in 20 hours per month. I think that's huge, and that's just, I think, the beginning, and it's still growing from there. And in closing, I just want to state our goals here. It's that we want to have universal distribution for all of our projects, be they games, be they animation, be they our publishing projects. And we want to be present on all possible screens because that's where our fans are. Be they smartphones, smart TVs, tablets, all these kinds of connected devices are very, very valuable for us. And we want to be where our fans are because they are really who make us what we are. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so thank you very much to Nick. Really, really interesting presentation. And we've got about 10 minutes when we can pick up on some of these themes and just sort of chat about where Rovio is going and some of the really interesting things you were saying about how we're going to see more animated series and television. Talk about that in a minute. But I mean, just first of all, why do you think that these animated characters have struck such a chord all around the world? What is it about these angry characters?
The easy way would say that everyone has some anger in them, but I hope that's not the only reason. I'd say that we've been able to create them in such a way that there's something for everyone, some character that everyone can see themselves in. And of course, all human beings, I think, have many shades to their personality, so you can actually usually identify with quite a few of those depending on your day and how it's been going.
So tell me a little bit about these animated stories that are going to be appearing. So when are they going to be appearing, and how are they going to be distributed, and how long are they, and all the rest of it?
It's going to be 52 times 2.5 3-minute series, and we're going to roll it out later this year. So towards autumn, you'll be able to have your Angry Birds goodness once every week. And we're going to roll it out, like I said, on all possible devices. We're looking at building a video app for that. We're also looking at partnerships and so on, because we're really open to working with everyone who just thinks big and shares our vision.
And I'm really interested in that length. So 2.5 minutes, that is really short. I mean, going back to sort of the golden age of animated shorts, I can't remember how long they were, but they were longer than 2.5 minutes, I think. So,
yeah.
Is this because of where you've come from in terms of mobile, how you see audiences consuming them?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, with YouTube, with the most basic tools, you can always already see which videos cut off where and so on. And we've been experimenting with that a bit. We did, on our Christmas videos YouTube version, we had credits that were actually as long as the actual video, because we had a nice Christmas song done, especially for us, that we wanted to put in. And we just tried it out. How does it work? Do people watch it to the end? Of course, it dropped quite fast, but not as dramatically as when you usually just roll the credits. So there are different patterns, and you just have to observe them. And because we want to be on all screens, we don't want to do different versions like iPhone cut and smart TV cut. So we just go with the shortest version. But I think,
and commercially, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because you don't have to version it into different languages, as long as they're not going to talk. So they're going to talk?
I keep getting asked that a lot. We have not yet encountered a talking member of the species, but who knows? There are new birds popping up every time. There might be something.
So it suggests there might be in the future. You're leaving the door open anyway.
Of course.
So in terms of the future of television, what's Rovio got to teach television? Basically, make everything as 2.5 minutes, or what?
No, obviously, you have to work with how your medium works. Just because we are present on those different platforms, we have to observe that. Television has to observe their own running times and so on, what works for them. But there is, I think, a change coming, whether people like it or not, into this world where you have everything released at the same time all over the world, and I think it's just a matter of time. And then you'll be at a point where everything will be released everywhere at the same time. You don't have a problem with piracy anymore. You can get your VOD running. All those business models will start to pick up really, really, really good.
And that's really different from the way in which television is commissioned, the way it's screened with these local markets. You're just thinking of it as completely global.
Yes, because I think it's hard to fight it, and it will not happen overnight, obviously. And I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I just feel that it'll be going in that way.
Tell me a little bit about your inspirations as a company. So, we kind of talked about the golden age of short animation. I mean, do you look at companies like Disney, or do you look at that era, or are you purely looking forwards?
Well, of course, you have to know your history always, and Disney is a really great model for us in a way that they have diversified into all possible kinds of entertainment, and that's where we want to be. We want to be seen as an entertainment company, not just a games company anymore. So that's why it has been said that EA is not so much our main focus, but it's more work that Disney does. I don't know whether we'll be bigger than Disney anytime soon, but it's good to have aspirations, and I think it'll be in a friendly spirit.
Well, I guess they never got into space, or not so quickly.
Yeah.
In terms of obviously Disney, went into feature films. They have theme parks. Do you have those kind of grand ambitions? You are doing a feature film, is that right?
Actually, we are doing both. We're doing activity parks, not quite theme parks, but activity parks already.
Whereabouts?
Sorry?
Whereabouts are you doing?
We have a partner with whom we are looking at doing those all over the world. So there's going to be some in Finland, quite a few in China, and so on. In China, we'll also have our brick and mortar stores opening up soon. But of course, for this audience, much more interesting. If you want to talk about the feature, I don't have very much about it, but I can tell you that we have David Maisel, of course, the former head of Marvel Studios, working with us on that project, and all will be revealed in due time. But at the moment, it's too early to tell anything distinctive about it. It's in development, and it won't be out 2013 or 14. So you just have to buy your time and first watch all of our shorts.
You talked about keeping control of the brand as being a really important part of your success. But if you are doing so many things, if you're diversifying into whatever theme parks and feature films and licensing for clothes and all the rest of it, then how do you keep control? How do you manage the balance between making sure the brand is consistent and also growing it at an appropriate pace?
Well, that's the challenge, of course. I mean, for us, it is really the most important thing to keep the brand consistent, because otherwise you really risk diluting it. That's why Rovio bought the animation studio Combo last year, and if you give the license to make any kind of animation projects, you're always giving also part of your creative decision-making authority away, and you can't just have all that control if you do it like that. And for us, it has worked. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's, in our strategy, the most important thing.
What about the Angry Birds themselves, though? I mean, is there a danger that of overexploitation, if you like? I mean, already there's some reviews on the space game saying, you're trying to make too much money, you're trying to charge people on the extra levels. Aren't people just going to get overload, Angry Bird overload?
There's always the danger, of course, but we try to balance that. We don't do all the possible merchandising projects, for example, that are offered to us. We are quite strict about those, even though it seems like there's a million items. There's only 999,000, so on. But we have to balance that with the game. Actually, that's a good thing that you asked me about that, because that's a strong misconception. We are going to be putting free levels into Angry Birds space. The danger zone, because it's such a different part of the game, it was asked by players that, can't you make harder levels? Is that all you got? Then we just locked away our games developers and made them work day and night on as hard levels as they could make, and those were put into the danger zone. But those are not for everyone. So that's why we then are going to roll out also free levels that are going to expand.
Right, but I guess it just brings home the point that if you're going to grow the brand, you have to maintain the trust and credibility of your fans.
Yes,
and you have
definitely.
To really make sure
we are talking with our fans all the time. We are talking with them about this misconception that's unfortunate, and obviously we've not been communicating clearly enough, so we are fixing that now.
We were talking about Disney earlier, and of course what they did famously with Mickey Mouse was, that was the star, but then they gradually introduced other characters and were able to extend in lots and lots of different directions. So you planning that? Have you got new characters, new games, or is everything built around Angry Birds?
Well, we do expand Angry Birds, first of all. So first there was just Red, and now in the latest game, Icebird has joined the flock. But we also are going to release a completely new IP this year. So nothing to do with Angry Birds. But we are also working on bringing new projects in the Angry Birds universe that have nothing to do with the gameplay that we've seen before. So, of course, when you're building an entertainment company, you can't put all your Angry Birds and their eggs in one basket, otherwise the pigs steal them.
We've just got a couple of minutes left. I mean, coming back to television, what do you think that Rovio have got to teach television producers about television today, and what thoughts do you have about that?
I'd say the most important thing is to really think about this change that is clearly already there from traditional viewing habits towards mobile, and how that affects your project. It might be that you can tailor something for the iPad, which means that you're working with different parameters than we are, for example, because we are respecting the smallest screen as well. But it's really up to each project. But I think...
So that's what? That's the maybe how long the programs are, but also whether you build in interactivity, you use some of those other capabilities of the devices.
Exactly, yeah, and of course also very basic storytelling devices. How much, how do you frame your shots? What can you tell in the pictures? What can you do? Do you have dialogue in them? Those are, for example, things that we think about, that we don't have dialogue. We have very strong physical comedy and then physical storytelling, character acting, so that it's really clear, universally, wherever you distribute it, people get it, and that's
and also
in this
maybe
world.
not thinking about sequential episodes, but thinking about individual standalone things that can work much more sensibly.
Definitely, it's a horrible thing if you have like a Lost kind of storyline going through it, and then your audience, because they go into your YouTube channel or wherever, don't find the right sequence of those. I mean, you've wasted all that hard work. So either you have to find a way to make it work, or then you have to do without one.
Fantastic. Nick Dorra of Rovio, Head of Animation, thank you very much indeed for those perspectives, and put your hands together for Nick Dorra.
Thank you.